Daf Mem Tes Amud Aleph, the second line from the top. We learned previously that according to Shmuel, he learns in the Mishnah that Rosh Shimon says by the case when you have the three chatzeres open to each other and open to the Rishus Harabim, that according to Shmuel, even Rosh Shimon who's matir, Rosh Shimon is only matir each outside one with the middle. But the two outside ones are also with each other, and the middle is also with each of the outsides. It's only that the one on the outside is mutter with the middle. Their mutter, each outside is mutter with the middle. The A chitzain is mutter with the middle. B chitzain is mutter with the middle. The chitzainas are also with each other, and the middle is also with the chitzainas as well. Even Rav Shimon is only matir the chitzainas, but not the middle one. The Chacham say all three are also. Tanya Kavasi Rav Yehuda with the Shmuel. So we have a raya to this from the Brisa. Amar Rav Shimon, because the Brisa says, Rav Shimon says, Lama Hadavar Daima. What is the case that where it's comparable to the case of the three people that have their overlapping Dalaramas Tumim? It's comparable to Sholish Chatzeras Psuchuzulazu Psuchuzurshusarab. If the two outside ones made an Erev together with the middle one, the residents of one outer Chatzer can bring food from his house into the middle Chatzer. And the residents of the other outside Chatzer can bring food from his house and bring it into the middle one. And the one on the one side can bring what's left over back into their chatzer. And the one on the other outer one may bring what's left over into his chatzer. So that's what's mutter. But the middle one is also for both of them. But the Chum say all three are also. So therefore you see a raya to the shita of Rav Yehuda Shmuel in Rav Shimon. V'aza Shmuel Tamei, and this is what Shmuel says here. We see it expressed also elsewhere. Damar Shmuel says Chatzer shebein shnei mevuah is if you have a Chatzer that's between two mevuahs, it has a mavui in each side of it. So, for instance, you have the following scenario. You have a Chatzer, and it has a mavui on each side of it. So let's assume that this is a mavui, that this is a side street. Now, this also would have a Chatzer open to it on this side and a Chatzer open on this side because the mavui has to have mavuas for Chatzeres psuch l'saycha. But let's say this is a Chatzer, it has an opening here, it has an opening here. So the residents of this Chatzer, they go this way, and they go to the side street to the Rishus Harabim, and they use this side street out to the Rishus Harabim. There's a Pesach on each side of it, and they access each side, and they go to the Rishus Harabim. So now it has access on both sides. So this is similar to the case that we just discussed. It's not three Chatzeres, Psuch l'saycha. It's a Chatzer that's open to two mevuais, but the Chatzer is now uses this side and uses this side, and it accesses both. So what happens in such a scenario? So Shmuel says the following. So you have a Chatzer shebein shnei mevuos. A Chatzer is between two mevuos. Im shneim. If the Chatzer made an ear which each one of them, then asura im shneim. Then it can't go in either one of them. They can't carry from their Chatzer to either one of these mavuos. Why is that? That's like the case that we just discussed. That's like the case where we had that since the Chatzer can access both mavuos, it's like the case we had over here of the middle Chatzer that is now has both areas, is Mishamshesh Shtei Rishuyos, and therefore it can't carry through either one of them. because it can't be in two separate places. It's either here or there. So if it's ma'arav in both of these mavuos, that means that it's considered to be, both of them is considered to be their place, and therefore they can't carry in either one of them because neither one of the mavuos are considered to be merged and one with them, since they have access to both and they have right-of-ways of both. Therefore, they can't be considered to be one. With either one of the mavuos, it can't be considered that they're merged and they're one place because they have access and right-of-ways to both sides. Lo yevrim shneim, but it was not ma'arav with both of them, then oiseres lo shneim. Then it not only is also to carry from the chaser to the mavoi, but the people from in the mavoi, the other chatzeres that are open to the mavoi, the other chatzeres from the other side are open to the mavoi, and this middle one, answers on them as well, because since there's no eruv over there, he's not ma'arav with them, then they are also to carry within their own mavoi, because it has a right of way over there, and they weren't ma'arav, they didn't join together, so you can't consider it to be that the mavoi is one with this chotzer, so therefore it answers even the other residents to carry in that mavoi. But if it was a custom to go through one mavoi and not the other, so one it usually walked through one and not the other, so zush regila boy also v'zesh ein regila boy muter. So then we would say in this case, we would say that we deem it to use the right of way of the one that it usually goes through, and we would say that's the one that we deem it to have right of way, and the other one we would say we deem it not to have a right of way, not to have usage of it, and therefore we would say the one that's regila, well, it frequents it, it has right of way, and therefore it answers them. It's because it's like you have a chotzer where the residents are not ma'arav together. So here also the chotzer has a right of way of the mavoi. It's considered to be, so to speak, a resident of that mavoi, and therefore if there's no eruv, it will answer on all b'nei mavoi. And we say the one that it doesn't frequent, will say that we treat it as not using that, not having a right of way, not being a resident of that mavoi, and therefore it won't answer on them. If it was marvin with the ein regila boy, with the regila la'atzma, then nevertheless, even though it's the chotzer is regila in the other one, but once it's made an eruv with the ein regila, then we would say we treat the chotzer as a non-resident of the regila, even though it is regila, and that's the one it normally uses. But here, since it's ma'arev and made an eruv with the ein regila, we treat it to be a resident of the ein regila and not with the regila, and the regila is muter la'atzma. V'amar Rabba bar Rav Huna amar Shmuel im irva regila la'atzma. He said if the one that it custom normally frequents, if they made their own eruv, meaning, so they made their own eruv in that mavoi, the residents, the other residents that open up into that mavoi would be mutter to carry. If not for the middle one, they would be mutter to carry. But the one that it doesn't frequent, the one on the other side, they didn't make their own eruv. So regardless of what we treat the middle one, they can't carry anyway because they did not make their own eruv. And the middle one did not make an eruv. We push it to the one that it's not regila. We treat it as a resident of the ein regila. Now, even though normally we would treat it as a resident of the regila, the one that it normally goes to, the one that it frequents, over here we push it to the ein regila. Because why is that? Because the ein regila is going to be also anyway. If we treat it as a resident of the ein regila, it's not going to affect them because they can't carry anyway. The middle one can't carry anyway. The regila, they made their own eruv, they would be able to carry if you disregard the middle one, so we push the middle one to the other side and say it's considered to be a resident of the ein regila. Okay, and this is an example of kaifin amiras time, that if it's then if someone is going to gain and the other one is going to lose, then we do something to the benefit of the other one, the one that can gain. Over here, the regila is not going to lose by this. because the Ein Regila, rather, the Ein Regila is not going to lose by this because they can't carry anyway because they didn't make an Eruv. The Regila only stands to gain, to benefit, at no expense to anyone else. So therefore we say we treat the middle one as a resident of the Ein Regila, even though it doesn't normally go there, it doesn't normally frequent it, because of Kaifin Midas time. That's the explanation according to the Ritva, that it's just an analogy, Kaifin Midas time. But we treat it this way. We look at it, we view it this way, but according to Ravina Yoinosan, he learns that we have to Lamaisa deal with this that way, meaning we allow the middle one, we say to the middle one, you're right of way to the Rishus Harapim. You can't carry through the Ein Regila, but you must use that right of way. You cannot, for that Shabbos, you cannot use the Mavoi of the Regila. So we push them doichanai, so we push them to the other side. We say that you have to use the other side. You have to use the Mavoi that's in Regila in order for the Regila to benefit, so that they can benefit from this case. If one of the residents is makbid on his Eruv, meaning everyone in Eruv, they contribute together, the food together, they contribute the pas together, and they are now considered to be merged together. They are residents of this one place. It's considered to be one dir, one resident. They all are residents of the same place. They're all considered living together. But if one person, he does not want anyone else to have the bread that he contributes or food that he contributes, he's makbid on it. He wants it to be for himself. So Shmuel says, Ein Eruv. It's not an Eruv. An Eruv means joining together. We pool the food together. That means we're all living together. Well, if one person is makbid on the other, he doesn't want him and doesn't let him eat from this food, they're not merged together. Eruv Shemai. Mashmai, Erev Shemai. What is the Erev? Mashmai, what is an Erev? Erev Shemai is joining together, coming together, merging together. If a person is makbid, it's not an Erev. It's not joined together. Rav Chanina Amar Erev Erev. He says it is a kosher Erev. But he's just called, the person is called a stingy person. It's called like the people of Vardina who were not generous, were stingy. This person is a stingy person, but nevertheless, he holds the Eruv is an Eruv. If a person separates it, he places his food not together in the same kli, in the same vessel as others. He puts it in his own kli. He puts it in his own utensil. He doesn't want it to be together with the other ones. So Kiman, this goes according to Beis Shammai. The Sanya, Chamisha Shagavas Eruvan, 5 residents collect their Eruv, the food for the Eruv together. Usanu Bishnei Kalim, and they put it into 2 separate Kalim. Beis Shammai, Aimrim Ein Zeh Eruv. Beis Shammai says if they're not joined together in one kli, it's not an Eruv. Beis Hillel says it is a valid Eruv. So over here, doesn't this go according to Beis Shammai, not according to Beis Hillel? Because according to Beis Hillel, you could have an Eruv in 2 separate kalim. Mor says no. Beis Hillel, you could say it's like Beis Hillel. Kan like Homer Beis Hillel Hasam. They only said it over there in that case. Ela Damanya Lamana Ve'as. Not that he consciously, purposely separated and doesn't want to have his food with the others. There he's talking Beis Hillel where they had a kli, and it got filled up, and there was some food left over that didn't fit into that kli, so they had to use another kli. So Beis Hillel says that nevertheless it's a valid Eruv. But over here, where he intentionally separated, so he's separating from the others, and he put it in a separate kli, then that's not an Eruv. But when he's separated, it's not an Eruv. They're not joined together, so it's not a kosher Eruv. Why does Shmuel have to tell me both these cases where a person is makbid on his Eruv, and if he puts his Eruv in a separate kli? Why do we need both of these halacha tzricha? The Yashmin and Hasan, because we only told me the case where the person is makbid, I would think we should copy, because he doesn't allow another person to eat from this food. But over here, he's not makbid per se, he just is separating, he just put it in a separate kli, so I might think that it would be a good Eruv. V'yashmin told me in this case, I would think Mishum de Palgam Miflik. I would think over here it's not a good Erev because Seif Kol Seif he physically separated from the other ones. Aval Hasam where it's not physically separated, even though he's makbid, but physically they're all together in Malay. That's why he has to tell me both. Amrlei Rav Avil Rav Yudi said to Rav Yehuda b'Beimatzarta be'Rav Zakeh by the Beimatzarta the wine press of Rav Zakeh Cholik es Eruva Eino Erev. He says that if a person separates his Eruv, he puts it in a separate container, a separate kli, it's not an Eruv. How can you say that? V'Amar Shmuel by Shemanichem by Eruv Ein Tzorach Litein as a pas. But Shmuel said that the house where the Erev is contained there, the residents of the Chotzer, they all gather up their food, and they put it into one house that opens into the Chotzer. So Shmuel said that the owner of that house does not have to contribute bread to the Erev. He doesn't have to contribute. So apparently, why does he not have to contribute? As the Gemara will explain, l'chayra you would say because, well, he has bread somewhere in his house, and wherever his bread is, then that's the contribution for the Erev. So doesn't that show you that they don't all have to be in the same kli? So my time, why does Shmuel say that the resident, the owner of the house, rather does not have to contribute? La mishum de amar de kem de manach basala, since he has his own bread somewhere in the house in one of his baskets. Kiman de manach hachadami. It's as if it's placed together with the rest of the bread that's in this kli in the air. So why don't you say also that even though a person separated his Erev, he put it in a separate container, but it's in the same house, it's as if it's in the same basket, in the same container. So how can Shmuel say that Shmuel says if someone splits the Erev, it's not an Erev? He said that the owner of the house where the Erev is placed does not have to contribute. Isn't that because he holds, we view it as being all in one container? Amalei said to him, no. Review said to him, that's not the pshat. Hasam afal pi shein pas. It's not that we view the pas that wherever it is, it's as if it's in this basket. No, the owner of the house that the Erev is placed in does not have to contribute pas. That's the pshat. My time at the Kulach diary, because what is the explanation for the Erev? Is in the explanation they're all living here, so that means they're all one. It's considered like one household. So therefore, the person that actually owns the house, that lives in the house, he certainly is a member of that household. He lives here, so he doesn't have to contribute pas. It's not the pshat that wherever his bread is, we view it as being in the basket where the other bread is. No, you have to physically, it has to be in the same basket unless there was left over. But if you separate it and put it in separate baskets, then it's not a valid Erev. Over here, the pshat is that the owner does not have to contribute because the understanding of Erev is that they're all residents of this house. Well, the owner of the house certainly is a resident of the house, so there's no need for him to contribute.